All right, what is up, guys? We got Dirty Mike and Cobbs Creek Beef back with our 12th episode of 4th and 26 Philly Sports. So we're at lucky number 12 already, Foods. How you feel? 12 in.
12 inches, whatever you like, whatever makes her happy. You know what I'm saying? Dude,
Uh,
and let me tell you, I'm glad we've been doing this a while. It's nice to have fans. Everyone stay tuned because we got a lot of Phillies, we got a lot of Birds, even got Sixers, and we got Flyers coming up, guys. So stick with us.
all right, I'm a little bit under the weather tonight, but we'll try to get through this as best we can. I wanted to kind of start off with the Eagles game last night. Get some of your observations from that. But I feel like the first thing we got to touch on that game is the defense. Foods. How do you feel about that defense this year so far? And what do you think can be attributed to the success they've been having, especially against the run?
Well, last night I'm going to have to really give a lot of props to Sean Desai. He's starting to really pull a lot of good plays out. He's dialing up some good blitzes. I know there's some injuries on the defense lately, so I think and they're coming back. You got Kobe coming back soon, so we'll talk about all that soon. But I think Desai's doing well. That line, but I gotta say, Foods, what we're just discussing, maybe 30 years ago is the last time we went 3-0 back-to-back years. And 30 years ago, we just had a line that was just as mean. Reggie, all those guys. And now we got a line that is just like an SEC team. It's looking like Georgia, and Alabama, looking like Ole Miss. And I think holding teams, let's see, they held Tampa to 11. I know the Vikings got a piece, but they were garbage touchdowns, and later Kirk Cousins always gets his number. And then, of course, you had the opener, where we play New England. Again, I think Mac Jones is kind of like Kirk Cousins a little bit. It's like looking at Kirk Cousins like 5-6 years down the road.
It is.
So exactly. So I mean, we make our hay while the sun rises, and then we hold them to and then our offense can drain 9 minutes off the last
Oh my God.
quarter, and then the defense doesn't even have to get on the field anymore. So that I
Oh,
think our defense is super dominant in the NFC and maybe even in both leagues. Foods.
I think 5 years from now, teams are going to say, "How do they have Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter on the same interior of their defensive line? How are they able to get both, let alone in back-to-back drafts?" I mean, what a steal, honestly, Foods. And I know this. The Eagles weren't going for Jordan Davis when they moved up. They were trying to get Jamison Williams, the wide receiver, and he got picked by the Lions, one pick ahead, like in a surprise pick. So then they were kind of left to scramble, and that's when they ended up with Jordan Davis. And just, I think, what a pick that turned out to be. He's starting to become a great pass rusher now, and he's just amazing how disruptive those two are on the interior.
Yeah, it's a good combination of old guys, young guys. Slay's looking good. He's helping them out. He knows how to be, to get the secondary and proper coverages. Now he's got to work a little bit between the communication. And I know that with the injuries and all the other guys coming back, it's going to help a lot. So no problem there. But let me tell you, man, that front four, boy, and they even getting good linebacking help, man. With that safety they pulled, boy, I think Hurts threw that interception on purpose because he's you know what, boys, give me the ball back, give me 2 points. We'll get it. Maybe they'll get a 2-point conversion, which they did later in the fourth quarter. Tampa Bay did, but it didn't matter because they were still getting 2 touchdowns behind anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about Nicholas Morrow. He made that big play, for the safety. He's somebody that they cut in the preseason. He got claimed off of waivers, and then they did a swap to get him back on the practice squad after N'Kobe got hurt. Now he's elevated and starting. I mean, just making big impact plays like that. And
Dude, he stopped him like 2 yards deep. It was like a yard deep. Dude, it was crazy. They didn't have a chance. The whole line just pushed.
I know. We were watching the game last night. Riley just couldn't wait for the defense to get back onto the field. Like he was dying during that last drive. It was like 9 minutes. He was like, "They're going to get the ball back, right, so they can get another sack or two." I'm like, "Oh my God."
Gee, Todd Bowles didn't even use his final timeouts. He still had 2 timeouts.
Just no moss.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say it wasn't wrong to quit, but it was totally like laying down. Like, and now I watching that ending where the 9 minutes they just took it all. I think that's a thing of beauty. I need a 4 minute drive. I think they call that the 4 minute drive, or
Right.
something like that, where they need to just extend it and just double it. If they can eat up almost a quarter of a half of a quarter, I know that sounds weird, but if they can do that, that's a huge time control, and controlling the ball and turnovers are like two keys to win any game. It really is.
Yeah, yeah. Jalen Hurts 2 interceptions last night, 3 through 3 games. It's definitely a little bit concerning that he was going through something last night. There's some illness going around the Eagles locker room. Kelsey and Hurts apparently were under the weather, possibly had the flu. So, they got through the game. They're 3-0. You don't want to play your best football in week 3. You don't want to fade out by the end of the season.
You're right.
Take the first, it's a long season. Take the first 10 games to figure out, your best lineup, who's going to be healthy, and then play them the last 7-8 games and get them, all playing together and ready for a playoff run. That's all we got to do. And the fact that we're 3-0 through 3 great games, we shouldn't take for granted. We talked about a little bit off air of how, I almost feel like we're jaded in an aspect of where we can't even enjoy an Eagles win anymore because we have to compare it to last year's team, which, arguably if a bounce or two would have went their way in the Super Bowl and they won, it would have went down as the greatest Eagles team in history. But, they came up a little bit short in the Super Bowl, but they were still such a great team that, they blew out every game and, it was over by halftime, pretty much every game last year. And after the second quarters, you remember that, Foods, the second quarters were just so dominant last year. And, they've gotten off to a little bit slower starts this year. And, I think there's some discontent with the fan base that, there's something wrong with them. Jalen doesn't look as fast, I'm hearing. And I'm seeing it with my own eyes. I definitely see him making a concerted effort to play smarter, and if he sees it's not there, he just gets down. What do you think of that? Do you feel like he's playing differently?
I got several things to say about that specifically, and what you just spoke on a minute ago. I think that he's playing a little more cautiously because he sees the injuries that are occurring, and I think he wants to, and he realizes that he's so valuable to the team. Now, he's got an amazing O-line, so they're able to protect, allow him, block, time, all that stuff, which is great. But now he's got an amazing running back in Swift, Gainwell, all of them, and 2 and 3, several great receivers and tight ends. He just needs to trust a little bit more. I think the fact that last year defenses were able to clue in on how important it was to contain him, and I think they're doing that this year very well. So they just have to learn a counterpunch, and that's what Swift does. Now, I think that what we did last year was great, and every season's different, and I think the grittiness of this season, how they're playing, the defense especially, attributes to that. For example, we were talking about how they pissed on Brady's parade the first game. Great. And then this last one, they pissed on Rondé Barber. I don't know if anybody knew 4th and 26, but Rondé Barber was apparently given, a ceremony. He was given accolades. Well, guess what? You guys lost. See ya. So I like how they're taking bye. I like how they're taking this and using it as fuel. Now, who's the next game against?
Washington.
And who did we lose to last year for the first loss of our season?
Why we lost to Washington.
These games are coming up at perfect times, Foods, because it's helped to remind us how close we came last year and even in the years past, Rondé, Brady, win or lose, because we lost, that NFC championship, but we beat Brady in the Super Bowl, and he beat us once too, but whatever. The point is that I think we are looking towards a deeper soul-searching year, and I think that journey is going to help us not take any wins or losses for granted. We got to have a short memory on winning and losing. Same thing in Frisbee golf, right, Foods? You got to have a short memory. So I think what they're doing now is I think they're attributing those factors. They got new coordinators, same coach, new coordinators, but Howie has put them in a great position with these acquisitions and free agency drafts, yada, yada, everything. But I think that all three of these together, defense, a great edge rusher, great quarterback, great coach. Those are like the three keys that we have all together. Does San Fran have two of those? Maybe they got a good, coach and a good defense, and I'm not sold on Brock Purdy. You know what I'm saying? These are the kinds of things that I look at across the league because we're going to have to play these, jamokes later. So I think that once we take care of business in our our division, and then we look, out after that. Watching the Cardinals defeat Dallas.
Oh my God. I was enjoying foods. I was enjoying it so much. I was just happy with the fact that towards halftime it was competitive. So I could root against them for another half. And then all of a sudden they started taking the lead, and then I waited for the hammer to drop, and they pulled away, and they just held them off. I was so happy. They looked so terrible.
Dak's going to Dak, right?
Yeah, and you know what? It was the defense. The Cowboys defense let Arizona just run all over them. So imagine what we're going to do.
Yeah, dude, Connor looked great. He was up and down their asses.
Yeah. Let's talk about Swift for a second. When we got him, did you have any inkling or just any hope that he could be this good?
Absolutely. I was so shocked that Detroit let him go. It was, I think they were in a position that they kind of had to. I'm not a Lions fan, but I guess they had to move some stuff around to help with oncoming debt, because they still had, Goff's there and, everybody's there. So, no, I'm sorry. Stafford. No, it's Goff. Jared Goff's there.
It is.
Yeah, Goff. So they have Stafford's in LA, and let me tell you, we can talk about them another time. But they look terrible yesterday.
They did. Oh my God, I can't wait till our defense goes against them.
And then we got them soon too. So yeah, it's going to be good to see our defense feast. But as we always say, it's a game is a season unto itself. So I'm just looking at Washington right now. But you're absolutely right. Like I think last year was such an easy. Looking back, it seemed so easy now. Looking back now, I hope we didn't take it for granted, but I think Sirianni's going to keep us on that path. And that the ending of the Super Bowl is such a bad taste in your mouth. You want to just get it out. You want a nice sorbet so you can cleanse the palate. And I think that this year, going 12-5 or 13-4 is going to be the way to go. They can lock up that first bye week, and then we'll see whoever in the division. I'm not looking too far ahead because that's a long ways down the road, but why not as a fan, especially in 4th and 26.
3-0. I mean, you can't argue with 3-0. I asked you about DeAndre Swift. If you thought he could be so good. And, I remember watching him last year, week 1, the Lions against the Eagles just completely gashed us apart for almost 130 yards, a couple touchdowns. He had a real long run, and I was just thinking, man, this dude is so good. And then they mentioned he was from St. Joe's Prep,
local game,
arch rival of Bonner. Mm-hmm. And when we picked him up draft night, I was just like, wow, I mean, that's amazing. I've been kind of following Miles Sanders because I'm down here in the Carolinas, and he's not doing too much down here, making $10 million a year. And we got this dude locked up for like $1 million or $2 million, whatever it is, just nothing.
Yeah, it was amazing because that first game against Detroit last year, that opener, that was a high-scoring game. They were slinging that ball all over the field. You know what I'm saying? So I think that they realized, my God, what a help he could be. Now, they coupled that with – I know Boston Scott was inactive, but remember, we got Scott, we got Gainwell. And then Britton Covey looked, dude, he looked great, had nice run back. I was amazed. Another – like – I would say he's like a little guy too. Like it's great to see the little guy with skills, man. It's like watching like poetry out there. And
I don't know if you saw Devin Allen get activated and taken back a couple kickoffs. You didn't see many of them because they weren't scoring much, but he was Devin Allen finally got to play in his first NFL game and got to run back a couple kickoffs, which is cool. I was glad to see that. I was hoping he could break one just like Covey did, but it's his first time, so it's good. It's good to get him up there and get him a little action.
Yeah, dude, let me tell you, like I loved watching all phases of our team at work. We had, a great. I mean, there were at least what 2 field goals. That was nice. Obviously Jake's doing his thing. Obviously the safety. We scored in literally every way possible in that game. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's nice to watch.
It was great to watch. Last year I felt like it was more around the offense, but
Mm-hmm.
we like to kind of glamorize the passing game because we have 2 number 1 receivers. But if you remember back to last year, what was leading the way was the running attack last year, and I think that's where they need to go back to this year as well, and everything will feed off of that.
I wouldn't even mind using the tight ends in there. It was great watching, Goddard last year. Got to get him involved. I
Yeah.
love watching I love when they do 12 personnel. Big dogs. Got the 2 tight ends in there. I like how they block. I think it's great to watch. Now, I have to say they've been getting too many ineligible man downfield
Yeah,
penalties.
that's
They
a
got
tough
to
one.
chill with that. Like, we got to be able to get the timing down. I understand it's only the 3rd game. I get all that. But, it's one of those things where it almost looks like our offense is overzealous with the blocking or with the coverage, which is fine. Hey, that's the price you got to pay. But, 5 yards here, 5 yards there. Shit. When Tampa Bay lost that 5 yards, that gave us that first down. So I don't want that to happen against us, is what I'm saying.
No, absolutely not. And before we wrap it up with the Eagles, I wanted to keep them to about 20 minutes. I want to single out someone else that we couldn't imagine him not only falling to us, but getting as great of a start to a career as he has as Jalen Carter. I mean, just fantastic what that man has done. These first couple games, and he's not really even getting a ton of reps. I think he's second in the league in pass rushes with 15 of them. Sack and a half, 2 forced fumbles, couple tackles for losses. I mean, he is so disruptive, Foods.
Well, I think it's forcing offensive line coaches and like coordinators to scheme for him. They got to start double teaming him, which leaves everyone else free. It's great.
And you got Jordan Davis there,
Davis, same thing. Yeah.
Hey, I mean, there's only so many bodies you can block from the offensive line, and it's just amazing what those two are going to do for the next couple of years. But just what a start to a career. There was talk he was going to be the number 1 draft pick, and there was a chance he could have at least been 1 or 2 if that horrible accident didn't happen. God rest their souls. But if that didn't happen, there was no way he was dropping down to us.
No, it's terrible. It's a horrible tragedy. But I have to say that what I love about the Eagles organization is they are able to put on a human face, give the proper respect to the parties, and take on that burden. We've done it with Vic. They were able to use that young man's, horrible past and able to give him redemption. And I think that's a great thing about this organization is they look beyond numbers of the person. Obviously, you're a football player. That's what you're here to do. But I think that the community, I think as we're all a big family, 4th and 26, it helps to work those demons out. Now, Mike went to prison and he served his time. He did what he had to do, and he's out. And he's been out for a decade, and 15 years probably at this point, yeah. At least a dozen years. This young man has had a problem. Same thing occurred, and I think when he was drafted by us, I think Howie understood the same thing was occurring. He needed to search his soul. He needed the fan base to do the same, and we needed to accept him at a human level. And I think having done that, we're getting the best football out of him currently.
Well, you want to make sure that it was just a bad decision and not
a horrible,
a whole,
yes.
Just pattern of bad decisions.
Exactly
of,
right.
His character, because everybody is capable of making horrible decisions that can impact lives and destroy them. And unfortunately, this young man made a horrific decision that impacted families and will impact them for decades to come.
Sure.
But he's moving on, and he couldn't have gone to a better team. Usually teams in the top 10 are, some of the worst teams in the league, some of the worst run teams in the league. All of a sudden you get somebody like him with a bunch of other crews of players, that don't really give a fuck on defense. The team sucks. They'd be going out to the clubs every night, and just partying, and, he doesn't get the most out of himself as to where he goes to Philly, where it's an established, but the best defensive line and, front five in football. He has to hey, I got to get my shit together to play here. And he's got them dudes that are going to be like, yo, man, this ain't how you do it. This is how you do it. This is how you're a pro. And, that's what they're doing to him. And you're going to see it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I love how they have a common goal. I think the idea being a top 5 team in this league and having the goal of the Super Bowl and it's an attainable goal, totally obtainable. It's I don't want to say it's already in the bag because I don't like to jinx ourselves, but let me just say, as a top 3 team in this league, I know we could get certainly to the NFC Championship. I think knowing that helps him keep on track, and that forces him to look into himself and realize that he's got to play ball here, and he has to play ball with his soul. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in the end, it's up to him, and I think he's doing very well.
Yeah, before we finish it up, there was one more topic actually I wanted to touch on. Hassan Reddick's been really quiet so far this season. We know he had that injured thumb in the preseason, had some surgery on it. I wonder how much, that's affected him more than, let on, or just having a really slow start.
Yeah, I know. They were actually talking about him on the radio. I almost don't mind if he starts slow as long as I'm not hearing his name negatively. No penalty. Things like that, I look at it that way. Third game, he still got time.
Still pick it up by the end of the year. I mean, that's, it's a long season. You gotta, be peaking at the right time. And, that's hopefully what our Phillies are doing right now. Let's talk about the Phils clinching a playoff spot tonight with a couple games to spare.
Let me tell you, I don't know. I know sometimes it was tough. It's tough when you're down there. It's tough to watch and things like that. Even it's tough for me to watch, but listen on the radio. It's as exciting as it could be.
It's so exciting on the radio.
Oh, it's the best. And tonight, Rojas, 10th inning, walk-off single. Let me tell you, it was beautiful. And I'm getting a little worried about Nola. He didn't look terrible. He actually looked really good today. He was hanging in there, and I think the 2 runs that we got back really are a sign that we can generate offense late in a game. And 2 runs, 3 runs. I'm not asking for 8 runs or anything, but enough to get, let's just say multiple runs, enough to get you back, even get you a lead. And then once we have the lead, our bullpen just shut down. It's great. Very rarely are they blowing. Kimball's looking okay. He's not looking 100%, but he's looking okay. But Alvarado looks outstanding. He's looking good. And I think the setup men, Hoffman, who do we got? Lorenzen, even Kirkering coming in. They all look great. I think the pitching is coming together at the right time. I just want the starting pitching to try to hold down and go later in games. You know what I'm saying?
Assuming they get out of the first round, who is your 4-man rotation for the Phils moving forward to get them through to a World Series?
Wow, that's a good one. I think I'd have to start, especially if they're say you're talking about divisional series, right?
Divisional is what? Best of 5?
No, I think it goes to 7. I think divisional 7 and I think championship 7. I think the you know what? No, you're right. I think it is. I think it goes 2 out of 3. Yeah, and then 3 out of 5, and then 4 out of 7. So I would probably set it up I would put Wheeler out first. I would start Nola second, and then I probably would use. I'd say Sanchez, then Suarez.
Sanchez and then Suarez.
I would think I'm trying to remember if Sanchez is a lefty. I don't think he is. I know Suarez is. So maybe I would swap out and put Suarez in third and then Sanchez at fourth. Taijuan Walker isn't terrible either, but
like, where's Taijuan Walker in that?
Yeah, I know. It's an embarrassment of riches, Foods. You know.
I would put Walker in above Sanchez.
Sanchez, okay, that's fair.
I would put him in above that, but I would do Wheeler, Nola. I'd probably go Walker, and then what's his name for number 4? Same as you.
Oh, Suarez.
Suarez, yeah, and that's a legit 4. You have Lorenzen coming out of a bullpen for long relief if need be. You can get 5 innings out of him.
Yeah, they have good. I think they have good setup, man. I really think that the addition of Kerkering was helpful. Did you see his dad the night before at his game when he was getting his strikeouts? His dad was.
I did catch it after the fact.
Oh, it was so. I love when parents of players come and watch their kids throw for those opening salvos. It's what the Phillies are all about. But I think we have to watch out a lot for the pitching for Atlanta. But we own the Braves in their stadium. You know what I'm saying? We took the series of the season series from them.
We did. We could definitely compete with them. I think at the top end they might have a better pitching staff, but over
Elder and all them guys, right? Is that who they got now?
Yeah. Strider's a beast. He's a strikeout machine. I mean,
yeah.
But over a whole pitching staff, I like us. They have some huge bats that hit a lot of home runs there, but I think we have the pitching to kind of keep them off balance.
Yeah, as long as I want to say the offense, strikes early, I think that's a huge help. We need Schwarber to be a unit, dude.
Right.
I don't mind him with those opening leadoff home runs. There's great, but I want if our bottom half of our rotation, of our hitting rotation is on base, I don't want them to be left on base. I don't want 2-3 guys left for innings at a time. I want them to be put through and get them home. It's tired of watching men stranded. It's getting on my nerves.
Yeah, the playoffs are where that's the difference. That's the difference between victory and defeat. Leaving the men on base. So, that's something we definitely need to clean up for the playoffs. And I'm not used to having the Phillies actually make it with a couple days to spare here. What do you do if you're a manager? Do you rest some of your starters or do you keep them in the game flow?
I would actually keep them in certain parts of the game. I wouldn't give too many people time off. You obviously want to give time off to anyone who's having any soft tissue injuries or any tweaks, anything that's going down. It may be you got a wedding you got to go to or something, or the wife's pregnant and she's going to have a birth here in a week, some weird circumstance. No problem. Give them the night off, spell them a little bit. But by the time October starts, Foods, I don't want anyone hurt. I don't want to see any bullpen games. I don't want to see any of that crap. We need everyone firing on all cylinders. So, I think the question's fair, and I think Topper's able to reasonably delegate time correctly. Also, coming once the playoffs start, the extra innings rule goes the zombie runners. There's no more.
Yeah,
it goes back to normal baseball rules in the playoffs, which will probably it could lead to some interesting playoff games this year, Foods. It really could.
Yeah, I'm excited for more playoff baseball because playoff baseball is so exciting to begin.
It is.
I wonder how much the pitch clock is going to take out of that because it just kind of keeps you flowing in the flow of the game, which is good because some of those at bats in the postseason were just fucking brutal. A minute in between pitches, my God.
Yeah, it's much better. I think the game becomes a little more sizzling when it's you see a little bit more time as a I get I want to say at first I might have been a little at the beginning of the year might have not been so receptive, but I think there's a flow of the game, and I think anybody will tell you once you start playing, there you don't want to wait too long for certain things to happen because then there's reasonable that other things could go on. So you want to get a game over. I'm just, for example, as we get on later in October, rain. There's going to be a lot more rain days in October, even snow, for God's sakes, depending on where they play. So it almost lights a fire under the league's ass to keep them playing fast because you don't want to slow down. You don't want playoff games to be taking forever, going to midnight.
5 hours.
Yeah, you don't want that. So this is good. I think this is going to be a good way to see, if our pitchers, especially Nola, are able to move past any pitch clock difficulties they have and are able to go into the playoffs with the idea that they have to be crisp and they have to know their signs. They got to have a plan, a strategy.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it used to kill me foods in the postseason where you'd have the stare down for like 20 seconds while the catcher's putting his signs. Just the pitcher and the batter just locked in a stare down, and then all of a sudden the pitcher steps off, has to reset, do all his shit for 20 seconds, step back on the mound, get back in his routine, line up, do the same thing again. I mean, it would be awful, and a bat would take like 10 minutes.
And then they got to throw it at first, or big call. And then I also this year I have to look, but I think I've seen fewer balks.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing many. I don't remember
at least
seeing many
from us. I mean, have you seen any real?
Nothing more than usual.
Yeah, I think it kind of helps keep the pace because balks happen when there's like stutter and stopping go. When the game is sputtering, I think that's when the balks occur.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I was a little, I don't know. I like I told you, I had seen the pitch clock for a few years down in the minor leagues, and it definitely made the games go because nothing's hotter. Some of those games, the sun would be right in your face in the stadium. It would be like 96 degrees out. Just feels like 110. You just waiting for the sun to crest over the back of the stadium, and you look up, it's still the fourth inning. You're like, Jesus Christ! Then they put the pitch clock in, and it got it going. You get a couple of beers in, you look up, you're bottom of the eighth. You're like, oh shit.
That's great. Yeah, I'll tell you, I'm starting to say that I'm warming up to the pitch clock. I think that it's funny that now all four sports have some sort of time element. I know we've been only talking about football and baseball today, but you got to think of it. It's Flyers, or actually Flyers got a preseason game against the Islanders tomorrow. You got the Sixers with the Celtics soon, and then their season's starting in a few weeks. So, I mean, all four of the sports are now incorporated or have some sort of time element. It's crazy to think about it now. It was never like that before.
It's the best time of the year, foods, when all four teams are playing at the same time, and you have a weekend where you'll have 6, 7, 8 games in a weekend. A Friday through Sunday, just a combination of the four teams, and it's just amazing.
It is. October is an outstanding month, and I would love to hopefully go and see some of these games. I know my brother was talking about season openers. So 4th and 26th. Stay tuned. Your boy may go out and do some street interviews. You never know.
Yeah, man, that would be great to get some street interviews on here. That'd be exciting. But we're just getting started. The Eagles are just getting started.
Washington, baby.
Nothing to worry about. We're 3-0. I think this game against the Washington is going to be the game where we really get it together. I think I think you've seen a little bit in each game, flash like, special teams, offense, defense, but I think you're going to see it all together against the Commanders and just completely beat them down. And I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to get back to a Sunday game. I feel like all these Thursday and Monday games and shit kind of got me off.
Well, we have only 2 more Monday night games. The next one is against Kansas City in November, and then we got Christmas Day against the Giants.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that game so much, and I love that it's not a 1 o'clock game because the 1 o'clock ones you kind of have to rush a little bit to get all your food and stuff. I like going about my day, getting all my shit I got to get done, and then just getting the food going, and then it's 4 o'clock. You look up, it's game time. You sit back, you're ready to go.
That's you're absolutely right. Same thing for Thanksgiving. I know we don't have a Thanksgiving game, but the same principles apply.
Yeah.
So yes, stay tuned, guys. We're definitely going to kill it, man. It's going to be a great year. You're going to have some fun games, and on Monday we'll have some great Eagles games. We'll have some great Sixers games. Hopefully they'll pull their heads out of their asses, but it's going to be a fun couple months.
Yeah, we'll have a lot to talk about with them signing Kelly Oubre. We'll be back with that shortly.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to a 4-0 start. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back on another video soon. Have a good one, guys.
Right. Peace, kid.